Hi there, I've just been thinking about YouTube again and about what kind of parameters would have to be in place for a site that did what I want YouTube to do, or what I want a video hosting site to do, that YouTube is falling way short of at the moment, and in fact no current site is doing that. I've looked at a bunch of videos, not just hosting sites but aggregators as well. So I've looked of course at Vimeo and Blip and YouTube and the rest of those, Middler, Dailymotion, but I've also looked at sites like Media and VodPod, which don't host themselves, are effectively kind of search engines really for videos in which you can make accounts and kind of make collections, but they don't actually host any. And all these sites have got good and bad things going for them, but I've just kind of drawn up a little list of the things that I would regard as ideal or would be necessary for the kind of ideal site that I would want. So the first part of this just brings out some principles, and the second part would be about implementation. And I'd be interested to know what you think. Okay, the first thing is that connected media is too valuable a communication tool to be held by a single corporation or government agency. Secondly, that existing media networks are vulnerable because they are under such singular control. Thirdly, that the best protection against the breaking of media networks is a combination of mobility, decentralisation and redundancy. Mobility acknowledges that spaces in which free speech can operate are never permanently open, but only ever exist temporarily. Therefore, in order for media networks to maintain free speech, they must have the capacity to move into such areas as they open up and move on when they begin to close down, as many people would say YouTube has done recently. Decentralisation is a necessary feature to prevent one part of the network being uniquely vulnerable to attack. And thirdly, redundancy requires that many parts of the network, and crucially metadata on the network itself, be duplicated across multiple locations. This allows for the restoring of the network after the inevitable attacks without loss of data or connection. Okay, so those are the kind of principles that I'm working with. That would be a relatively bulletproof video communication site. Okay, so how would that be implemented? Firstly, the site would need to use open source software which is freely available and can be easily installed on most servers. As long as it's proprietary in the way that YouTube is or Vimeo is, then it can't be duplicated, and it can't. So if a site goes down, no one else can pick up the reins. So it needs to be open source, in my view. Secondly, specifically in relation to video hosting, no videos will be hosted on the site itself, but rather be aggregated from other video hosting sites as well as private servers, so that this site, a bit like Media does at the moment, could, as I say, aggregate videos from Vimeo, from Blip, from YouTube, but also from your own personal web space, or from the server that you keep in an old computer under your desk. You know, that it would aggregate all of those sources. A radical separation of video content from metadata. As I say, this maintains the necessary separation of content and metadata. Thirdly, links between video content and that metadata about those videos can be updated, or need to be updated, without breaking the network. If a video is removed from one hosting site, for example, then details about its new location can be added without changing any other data. Because the metadata, as I kind of specified in the video I made recently called The Messages Are the Medium, it's the metadata that is the medium in which we operate. The information about connections between one video and another, between one comment and another, one user and another, all that information, that's the matrix out of which things are born. And that's really, really important. But at the moment, as soon as a video goes down, all that connection goes down with it. So what you would need is, as I say, this radical separation of video content from metadata, but crucially, the capacity to edit the metadata. So if a video goes down in one location, the metadata can be changed to patch back in the video from another site. So if a video is taken down, one of my videos is taken down, for example, at YouTube, I can edit the metadata to pipe that video back in there from Blip or from Vimeo or from my own web space. Okay, and lastly, and this again is, I think is very important, metadata about the videos, all that stuff I've been talking about, descriptions, tags, comments, etc., would be held in a database which can be made publicly available and easily transferred to another server should the need arise. So that if, because whatever site temporarily takes on the reins of being a communal space, they're always going to be temporary. They're temporary autonomous zones, all of these spaces. That's what free speech always is. So in order to make sure that you've got something to move on to the next zone as it opens up, you have to make it transportable. And the metadata, the database containing all that information, would have to be, as I say, open access and available for, not necessarily open access all the time, but it would certainly have to be portable. So when the site moves on, the data goes with it, there's no break in the flow. Anyway, that's the ideas that I'm kicking about. I've been messing about with the site to try and instantiate some of this. It's not really a viable site, but I'm trying to encapsulate some of those ideas, and I know there's people out there who are far more gifted in these areas than I am to be able to write such a site. Yeah, but that's what I'd really like. I'm sick of all the data and my videos being in corporate control, and I'm sick of the logic of what stands and falls being dependent upon brand identity and the management of a particular kind of corporate logic. Yeah, we need to find a way to separate these things out, I think.